run the clock. Super 16 is the cream of the crop. College football time of year, don't stop.
You're adding this guy.
Just another gold dome with the courage, heart, skill, and will. Bringing you the best 16. Serving up a plate for the football fiends. Breaking the best 16 college teams. Football fans, it's the show of your dreams.
Ain't no bias, Chris Zorich breaking truth. Traded in the golden helmet in the past for a suit. With the tape, never lies. College ball, he's a stoop. Breaking the top 16, not the top 32.
I don't mean to cut you off like a Zorich jersey, but you ain't really grinding unless the jersey dirty. Hit the running back like a Mack truck behind the 30-yard line. It's game time. My team riding off the sideline.
You look at Chris like this with a fact checklist, going over college teams like a 50 scientist. Steve streaking from his head like in his playing days. Super 16 polls on the show straight away.
It's the FBS, the best of the best from the ACC to the SEC. Pac-12, Big 10, Mountain West, Sun Belt, and the Big 12. Open your eyelids. Who the best like the clock? Super 16 is the cream of the crop. College football time of year, don't stop. With Christopher Zorich, just another gold dome with the courage, heart, skill, and will. Bringing you the best 16. Serving up a plate for the football fiends. Breaking the best 16 college teams. Football fans, it's the show of your dreams.
Welcome, everyone, to week 3 of the Super 16 poll show with Chris Zorich. The Super 16 poll was created in 2013 between the Football Writers Association and the National Football Foundation to get actually College Football Hall of Famers and football writers of the country get together and produce a poll. And I'm one of the voters. So that's how I became part of the Super 16 poll show. And that's how you have a chance to understand and watch the Super 16. I'm going to keep it 100. It's going to be exciting because we're going to have a chance to interact with some fans, get their thoughts, answer some questions. And when I talk about we, there's a team behind here. We have our new co-producer, Cherie, back there somewhere. You can wave or say hi. We also have Steven Johnson from Sci-City Sports. And my guy, of course, on the graphics, Ron G. And my partner in crime, y'all know him as he has a whole bunch of names. The Draft Doctor, DDP. Also, I know him as Phill Ottochian. My boy, Phil. You ready to get this week going?
What's up, Chris? How are you feeling, man?
I know you're excited because that team that is in Chicago, they actually had a W. So you're going to be very excited today, right?
I'm all right. I mean, it feels like, what do you call it?
Wow. Come on. I thought you were going to be pumped,
You were there. You were at the stadium getting love from the fans as an alumnus. So
the one thing I did not like, which kind of pissed me off, when Dalton got hurt, the fans went nuts.
They went crazy, right?
That's not fair, man. That is not
fair.
I
totally agree with you.
At all.
I was calling out some Twitter blog boy trolls that are actually like doing fucking witches spells.
Come on, man. This is a family show,
forgot.
Man.
Come on, that man. Out, Cherie.
This ain't the
it gets me upset, Chris, that
I see
you go out of your way with like a witching spell to make Andy Dalton hurt, like they're rolling their Dungeons and Dragons dice or whatever the heck they're doing. I don't get down with wishing injury upon anybody. And I've had some guys that I completely dislike on that team that were starting and shouldn't have been, and I never wished injury upon them either. So saying it from a rabid football guy, I just don't like that. So to see it in the stadium for you must have been
right. Well, but also a lot of those folks who were booing or you're cheering, and a lot of guys you're talking about are folks that have never played the game before, right? Because it's all about competition. And even though there's someone in front of you that is a better player than you, you're on the team, you don't wish them and put hexes on them wanting them to get injured. So, that's just a last resort for folks who don't understand the game or don't understand athletics at all.
I completely agree, and I apologize for swearing.
Shame on you. This is a family show. Super 16 Poll Show.
Super 16 Poll Show with
Family
our
show.
guy, Chris Zorich, 3-time All-American, Walter Camp All-American, Walter Camp, all Walter Camp team. What is that? What was your?
It was the all-century.
All-century.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
Walter Camp team member right here.
Yes, I was very fortunate.
Chris is, despite anybody's opinions here, Chris is his #1 worst critic. So I will say that leading out of this show that Chris, in my opinion, your story should be a movie. And hopefully it's as directed as good as Rudy was, because Rudy was not even a third of the player you were. And
well, he had one play. That was good enough.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
we can't even get a Walter Payton movie, but we got a Rudy movie.
Exactly. But again, that
you are a great football player. You don't like to hear that, but I really need to say that.
The Rudy movie goes down in history in the annals of one of the best kind of inspirational sports movies out there. I mean, I prefer, over my opinion, love Rudy, but I kind of like the Brian Piccolo story with Brian Piccolo, Gal Sayers.
Brian's song.
That's exactly, Brian's song. That brings me to tears every time. So
yeah. We'll have to do your Super 16 football movie polls.
Ooh, I like that. That's
Thanksgiving. I think we make a special Thanksgiving that leading up to that week, Chris. We give your 16 top football movies that people should watch, because then you got the holiday.
I like that.
That's what I do, Chris.
That's why you're the man.
I'm not the smartest man. I'm not
the
smartest
man.
You are. But I am the most talented.
Yes, you are. See?
Yes, there you go.
All right. Hey, do you have a list of last week's?
Yes. Let's lead the show off.
Let's throw it up there.
Let's throw his last week's poll right there.
All right. We got Auburn, who actually got jacked this week, but we can talk about that later. UCLA at 15, Stanford 14, Virginia Tech at 13, Penn State 12, Notre Dame, 11, 10, Iowa, Oklahoma at 9, Cincinnati, Texas A&M, Oklahoma at 6, Florida 5, Oregon 4, Clemson 3, Georgia 2, and of course Alabama was 1. Now, the interesting thing is who drops out, who gets added, and is Alabama still #1? Ooh, all right, go Hawkeyes. I like that. They actually did well this week against should we even say it? I mean, is that even fair? They of course they played Kent State.
Hey, Julian Edelman came from Kent State.
Much love for Kent State. Just saying.
Kent State's finest right there.
All right, so now we can start the week 3 of the Super 16 Poll Show with number 16.
Number 16, Arkansas.
Okay, now this is the first time they're getting into the top 16 poll. Interestingly enough, they beat Georgia Southern. Now that didn't necessarily get them into there, but they beat them 45-10. However, a couple weeks ago, they did beat a highly ranked Texas team. Really kind of not that excited about them, but I do believe they deserved to get in. They are an SEC team. They're going to play a rough schedule, and of course, they did beat Texas. And I'm kind of excited because we're going to have a chance to see them play a number 7th ranked Texas A&M next week. So I think it's going to be good. Thank you very much. I do like that. And that was from my guy Bullet. He is probably our biggest fan. So I'm sure that's one of your boys. But knowing that we have a support is important. So that was 16. So we're going to go. We're actually going to make some fans happy this week with number 15.
Number 15, Michigan State University.
Hey, now this we actually got some complaints last week. I did not. It wasn't because of the pressure from last week. They actually kicked Miami's ass. So actually, they deserve to be in the top 16 this week. They played a game that was sound. The one thing I'm more excited about is when they're following week or next week when they're actually playing Nebraska, because now it's going to be into their conference play. And although they got smart and started to schedule some good conference or non-conference opponents, I think being on the national stage and playing a team that was supposed to be about speed. I know in my preseason poll, they were ranked in my poll. So I thought they were going to be good, but they wound up not being as good. But I know there's a top 25 poll out there that they actually fared very well in. And Michigan State, now unranked, is now ranked in the Super 16 poll. So now we go to number 14.
Number 14, Stanford.
Now, I do have to admit, these are a little quicker this week. Reason being, I had to go to a wedding, so I didn't have a chance to watch all of the games. So folks might say, hey, this is kind of quick, and Phil isn't helping me out here when I'm struggling here. But I had to go to a wedding, and it was tough, man. It was tough.
All right, anytime you need me, I just wait for the Phil call.
Okay, I do like a signal, like I'll pull on my my headphone or something.
Get your face out of the playbook like Matt Nagy and get in the game.
Wow. Yes, exactly. I like that.
Listen, first of all, Mel Tucker turning around that program, Michigan State, former defensive. He took a lot of heat here. A lot of fans asking Michigan State, and go blue, Michigan. Where are they going to wind up this week?
Right.
A lot of people wondering about this stuff. Here we are with Stanford, one loss. Stanford, you got them here at 14. Let me ask you this, Chris. Obviously, you're being completely transparent. That's what we do here. But are you believing in Stanford because of what you've experienced at Notre Dame with the academic kind of, we'll call it a net that kind of limits them in regards to top tier, these 5-star. I don't get down with all these star talents, but you know what I'm talking about. Their recruiting limitations. Is that why you have them this high here at 14 with one loss? Or
Absolutely.
do you believe in the head coach, David Shaw?
Well, and that's probably twofold. I do believe in David Shaw. I do think he has the ability to kind of get it back going. Because right after Harbaugh left, I mean, he was in the hunt, top 10. And it was proven that you could do both academics and athletics on a high caliber. He was in another institution. Obviously, I feel the same way about Notre Dame. But at the time, and being totally transparent, I had USC ranked. And I thought they were going to be a lot better than they were. But because of David Shaw and Stanford, Clay Hilton does not have a job now. So he was bounced.
Right.
He was fired. And although they played another academic institution and beat the crap out of them in Vandy, then they deserve to kind of stay, right? I mean, they didn't go up, they didn't go down. They actually stayed at 14 because, I do think it's a challenge, but being able to win on the caliber that they have in the past is important. Now, I know this is not about, years and years of experience, about what you're doing now, but they got in because they beat a ranked USC. And I had USC high. I think I had them at high as 11. So the idea that I feel if you're good and you can beat a ranked team, then you should have a chance at the dance.
I like it.
And that dance is the Super 16 poll show.
Heck yeah. It's your show, your rankings.
My dance.
I have to ask the tough questions here. In college football, if we need a Super 16. I'm coming up with these Super 16 jobs for you.
I'm writing them
I
down,
want your
man.
Super
I already got the
16
movies.
college coaches. I want
Oh
to
my
see
God,
your
okay.
rankings of them.
Top 60 of all time, or
No, of
Okay.
who's in college
All right.
now, if you had to rank them, minus the team. Some coaches are amazing, like what's his name? Peterson, that was at Boise State.
Mhm.
Then he went to Washington. I just
Right.
felt like fundamentally, when you watched his team play, they did everything they're supposed to. They might not win. They were always played so fundamentally sound. They were so fun to watch. That's what I see in some coaches in college football. It would be interesting to get your take as a former All-American football player, played for one of the greatest coaches all time, Lou Holtz, who obviously preached fundamentals. David Shaw, to me, is in my top 5. That's how highly I think of David Shaw.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm keeping it 100 with you here, and I'm giving you more to go on here. The Super 16 Coaches Show. We'll do a special show.
Yeah, we'll do a special. I got movies. I got football movies.
You got football movies for Thanksgiving. The Coaches
And I got
Show.
coaches.
Maybe Halloween we'll do the Coaches Show.
Wow. Okay.
There you go.
So now you've just taken away all my holidays there. I do appreciate that. Thanks. I'm sure everybody's watching that too.
Does Halloween fall on a Monday?
It probably does, knowing us.
Okay.
All right. We got number 13.
Number 13, BYU.
Now, I'm excited about this one because I was kind of chopping at the bit for BYU. I'm a fan. Again, great academic institution. I really became a fan of theirs. I mean, I kind of knew about them for a while, but last year I think they really kind of stepped up. And that issue was having a chance to play Coastal Carolina last year and having a chance to kind of travel across country when they needed a game. Both teams needed a game, and they literally found one during the COVID craziness. And everybody assumed that BYU was going to go in there and roll up on a team that I think maybe started football, or I know they were FBS, I want to say maybe a couple of years ago. I'm not sure, but they just became they just got to play with the big boys recently. And so you have a chance to kind of go in there and, I mean, they're going to go out there and dominate, and they didn't. And they had quarterback Zach Wilson. Was that the quarterback, Phil? BYU last year?
Now the first-round pick, starter with the Jets.
Yes,
you are correct.
Yes. And he actually had an okay game. I mean, it wasn't like he was throwing up huge numbers. Right. And interestingly enough, they lost. But going into that, everybody thought, hey, we're going to have a chance to do something against the team. And so now it's an issue of, hey, what can they do? And they wound up traveling across country. Huge story, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, about how they had to actually pack the truck up, not even knowing if the game was actually going to happen. And they sent them out there, and everything happened. But I applaud them because they had a chance to beat 2 ranked teams. They just beat Arizona State.
Right.
And they were ranked in the top 25. They beat an Arizona team not ranked, but Utah State was ranked. And they actually had a chance to beat them. So very impressed with them. That's why they're debuting at 13 for me.
13 they debut. My buddy, my father's former captain, is the offensive line coach at Arizona State.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay. Arizona State.
He was telling me, wow, this BYU team is the real deal. So good stuff, Chris, here. BYU, Brigham Young, Jim McMahon, Steve Young. Look at that. Now Zach Wilson. 4 picks, though, this past week.
Yeah, it's tough. All right, now we're coming in at number 12.
Number 12, Notre Dame.
Lord. This one hurt. This one really hurt. I wanted them to come out after being embarrassed by Toledo, being embarrassed by Florida State. I thought these guys were going to come out and put like 60 or 90 at Purdue, and that just wasn't the case. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. You have a new defensive coordinator. You have obviously a new philosophy there. You have, I think there's only one returning starter on the offensive line. That is huge. Obviously, you need some assistance. I think Ryan Harris, who actually does the radio broadcast for Notre Dame, who was an offensive lineman, talked about how they had already used 3 left tackles in the first 3 games. So that's something that you shouldn't have to do. Tony, I agree, man. It's just tough. I mean, they should not be running the ball, and it's so hard to watch. And I had a chance to kind of watch 99% of the game. I missed maybe the first 2 minutes, but it was bad. Now, I say that to say it was a win. They have a chance to redeem themselves now. They're going to play Wisconsin next week in Soldier Field, and I think
Are you going to be at that game?
I am going to be at that game. I'm going to be tailgating beforehand as well.
Okay.
So any fan, I'm not sure where I'm going to be, but you'll probably see me playing bags and having a couple of shots around.
Oh.
Wow. I am so sorry about that.
Hello. How you doing? This is Tony.
Wow.
Where are you going to be?
That's so bad.
That was like the loudest. That was like my parents' phone ring in 1987. It was like
I actually have a rotary. It's actually a rotary phone.
Remember? Yeah, exactly. Used to pray that your girlfriend didn't call past a certain time with that ring.
You're terrible, man. I'm old school, man. I like my old school.
You got notes, you got rings, you got rotary.
I'm old school.
You're at weddings. It
was a rough one, man.
This time, can you do the promo this time? I mean, what are we gonna do?
We didn't even talk about the internet.
I know you got the internet. The internet's up and down. We had 2 minutes
here all
to
day. They were here all day.
It freezes right when he's talking about it.
The upload was supposed to be over 30, which it was, but the download is not that great anymore. So I don't know what the heck is going on, man.
Yeah, we're gonna tweak.
We have to get Ron G over
Ron
here,
G is in Vegas. He will be back home Wednesday.
Okay.
He told me anytime after that he can come out and take care of this and fix whatever settings, proxy servers, and all that stuff that I have no idea about.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is, man.
Exactly. But we're going to get it fixed. Like Notre Dame is going to get their offense fixed.
Great transition. I like that.
Right there at Soldier Field. I mean, talk about history. When's the last time they played at Soldier Field? Did they ever?
Last time they played, I want to say I think it may have been 2015,
2015.
Because they played Miami there. Yeah. And of course I was at that game as well because it was in Chicago. And it's, I don't know, Tony. I mean, I'm not a fan of the 2 quarterback system and really can't understand why Brian Kelly is throwing in the freshman. I mean, really allow Cohen to kind of get his rhythm going. Let him be the starter. And granted, now I understand you want to throw him in at the end of the game when he can do kind of some mop-up plays. But as a whole, don't after the first or second series, don't throw him in there. I mean, give him a chance to get his rhythm going and everything. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you. You see it in the pros with your Bears, with the 2 quarterbacks and fans cheering for injuries and all this stuff. And then You see it with your hometown Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I'm with you, Chris. Cone to me showed his worth in that first game, pulling
Yes,
his
he did.
finger out of
We were excited about that.
400 yards. Like, build around him. Don't have a player looking over their shoulder all the time when they've already proven
Right.
that they can get things done. Is he Tony Rice running? No, but he's certainly throwing the football. I agree with you. I don't get it, but again, I'm not at practice there every day. I see the game. I've been watching Notre Dame very closely. I thought that edge rusher from Purdue, he's going to be a star in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's
well,
a good
and then
football
also
player.
to kind of get back in the quarterback situation.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of people have said that he's going to be a great running quarterback, and that's fine. But and other people say, hey, he's going to need some snaps. He can change up the defense. But in the same vein, you're not allowing Cohen to get his rhythm going.
Right.
And as you said, if he's looking over his shoulder all the time, what the hell?
Exactly. Got to get more consistent, Bullets is saying. I agree with you. Just build around Cone. Just let him grow. He's won you 2 games now, or 3. Again, they're not in the fashion that you want them to be, but I remember the 85 Bears losing to Tampa Bay in the second half, and all of a sudden they came back. Everyone forgets that. It's like you have to grow within the game, and then you see who you are.
I like
Just
that.
using that as an example here, as the greatest pro team of all time weren't hitting their stride until they figured it out. Do it with Cone. Have some patience.
And on top of that, I love the fact that he was able to pull his dislocated finger and then throw a touchdown the exact next play. So I'm impressed. So what does Edward say?
He says the big problem is Notre Dame isn't a power running. Cohen is the QB style fits a run first scheme.
Yeah.
Bray is more of an RPO guy. Reese loves the RPO scheme.
See, and it's going to be interesting because even I forgot the back's name, but I mean, he's not that big of a kid. I mean, he's only like 205 or 210 maybe or something like that.
He showed a lot of toughness.
Kyron, anyway, but the idea that I mean, he's not your every down type of back. Now he's fast, great hands, huge fan. As a matter of fact, there was a couple of shows that talked about him winning the Heisman. Which is
really
crazy. Yeah, he's kind of on a Heisman watch. So, hey man, that's what happens.
Okay,
that's what happens.
3-time All-American, CBS Defensive Player of the Year, national champion.
Hey, that's me.
College football Hall of Famer, and number 1 in your heart. Maybe number 97 in your program.
Oh, you have a good memory. I love that.
Number 1 in your heart. That's Chris Zorich on the Super 16 College Poll Show. He's got Notre Dame ranked what? 12?
Exactly. They dropped, man.
I love it. You're always holding.
They had to drop one.
You're holding people accountable. The unnaggy Chris Zorich.
You are brutal. All right, now we're at number 11.
Number 11, Florida.
Now, they dropped 6 because of their loss to Alabama, but I kind of want to save all their comments for that Alabama Florida group. So I do think they're going to. I mean, it was a great game. Matter of fact, I had a chance to watch this game at the wedding. And literally, it was one of those things where the wedding was going on, and a couple of guys were in the back, kind of looking at their phones. But I'm going to comment when we talk about Alabama. However, they do have an interesting game coming up. Not a great game, but it is a conference game against Tennessee. So we'll now look at number 10.
Number 10, Clemson.
Okay, now this one hurt as well. I'm a huge fan of Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go with DJ, like Phil suggested, but he's not been that impressive. And I was a huge fan of his last year. I mean, I thought he was going to run away with all the games because he put up almost 500 against a loss to Notre Dame last year. So I'm assuming this year he's going to be rolling, but he only had like 120 or something, or maybe even less against Georgia Tech, and they only beat him by 4 points. They had to drop. And again, I mean, polls, that they may look at it differently, but I really feel as though when you barely beat a team that you're supposed to dominate, what does that say? One, it says that your coach can't get the players up for that game, right? And you can say, well, Chris, what about Notre Dame? The exact same way. I mean, I treat Clemson like I treated Notre Dame when they barely beat Toledo. So the idea is that, again, keeping it 100 and being perfectly transparent, the idea, if a team doesn't perform well, it can hurt you. And that's like, not only do they have the loss against Georgia, they also have the what was it last? Forgot what the score was. I forgot what game I was talking about. But the idea that they only beat Georgia Tech by 4 points. I mean, guys, come on. I mean, something has to be done. So, sorry, not 4 points, 6 points. My bad. 14-8. I do apologize about that.
They only put 3 points up, to your point, against Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then they 14-8 against Georgia Tech. So 2 games that were nail biters, to your point. They blow out South Carolina State, which is obviously
right.
It's not a challenge here. So next up on the docket is North Carolina State. So they play South Carolina State, which is non-conference, small school.
Correct. And so, again, this is going to have a chance. We'll have a chance to see how they'll fare in their conference. But also, I mean, Georgia Tech's in the ACC. So, is Georgia Tech now this powerhouse? Or, is Clemson not what it's cracked up to be? And I think we're seeing that Clemson's definitely not what they're cracked up to be, which is amazing because, like myself, I mean, everybody across the country, we thought they're going to be competing for another national championship with that group of 4 that's always around on the top 5.
Yeah, and, you lose a quarterback like that. I'm with you 100%. We said it on week 1 of the Super 16 poll show. Neither one of us were impressed with DJ, and he continues to struggle in the mental processing of the game. You might have all the athletic talent, but when you watch him, and I was watching the first half of that game, and I'm like, this guy's just not feeling where he needs to go with the football. And that holds you back. You thought maybe that first week jitters, then you get warmed up against South Carolina State, then Georgia Tech comes in, and you're showing you're not ready. So I love what you're doing here. I really do.
Well,
it's not like they lost, but you're holding them accountable.
Well, I would like to, because I mean, that's really what happens in a lot of polls, right? I mean, if you don't fare well, it should show. And when you're again, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but when you don't do well against an unranked team, then you should pay for it. I mean, you should be responsible for it, because that's why I think ranked teams have a bullseye on their back. But more importantly, they have to go into that week against maybe a better opponent, or knowing that the team they're going to play, they're going to get their best. And so always, and even I'll sound like a broken record, but when we were ranked, we knew that we were going to get everybody's best game. And it was going to be kind of their bowl game or their Super Bowl playing a number 1 ranked Notre Dame or a number 2 ranked Notre Dame. So the idea of these ranked teams having to play, perfect games against opponents is important. But again, you're supposed to be able to dominate those opponents. And again, I'm going to go back to what Oklahoma did against Akron. I think it was 62 or 60 to 7 or something like that. So the idea is, again, play the game that you know and don't play to your competition. Because everybody says that hey, Alabama's only going to put up a couple points against Little Sisters of the Poor, but you see they have no problem putting up 70 or 80 points against them. And I think that's what the team should do. So let's take a look at number 9.
Number 9. Ohio State.
Okay, this was another game that we were watching at the wedding as well. I think half of the folks who had the Alabamas on one side of the wedding party, and the other folks they were watching Ohio State because a bunch of them folks were from Ohio. And a lot of people were like, "Who the hell is Tulsa? Never heard of Tulsa before." And they were actually hanging in there until the fourth quarter, actually. So that's the reason why Ohio State dropped 3 for me. It wasn't until the last couple of minutes where they started to put some points on the board. But for a while there, Tulsa was hanging with them. And again, when you look at kind of being ranked 6th in the country or top 10, and you're playing down to your competition against Tulsa, I mean, who's to blame for that? Is it the coach, Phil? I mean, do you have kind of any comments about this? I mean, this is the 3rd or 4th team we talked about where they're playing down to their competition.
Yeah, I mean, there's twofold for me here. Again, quarterback Justin Fields, obviously with the Bears, new quarterback in Ryan Day. You could see they're getting up against the ropes, transitioning. Not having that veteran, presence is hurting these teams. And I think Clemson and Ohio State, 2 of the guys that were in the playoff championship series last year, are struggling because they can't get their offense to where it is. Now, in the first week, Ohio State found their running game in the second half and were able to pull out of that. Here they are again against Tulsa. Tulsa, that's their Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Going up against Ohio State. So if you're a very good coach, you're going to have your football team prepared and ready to go. And I think that's what you get when you get to this point and you don't have these quarterbacks that are ready to dominate. I mean, look at USC, Chris. I know they're not on your list. They get better with an injury to a quarterback that's veteran. They get this young kid in there, darts, and he's throwing darts.
Right.
And you could just see they're down 14-0, but you could just see, like, why is this kid on the bench? Sometimes you have that. Even in the pros, we have that. We talk about politics. This kid's a senior. This one's a freshman. We owe the senior. It's sometimes that plays a part. That's why Justin Fields left Georgia. These stories always, I mean, you witnessed it at Notre Dame as well with Ron Powlus coming in there, all these hyped up quarterbacks and not playing probably the better one. So I think that's what's happening with Ohio State here versus Tulsa. Tulsa is a team,
but
Oklahoma.
Don Diz had a great point.
Good coach.
What I'm saying, I mean, he had a great point. I mean, let's not take away from Tulsa having a chance to play well as well, right?
Exactly.
And then the AAC, they do have some good teams there, but there's a reason why Tulsa's getting $1 million to come and play at Ohio State. Exactly. And those are the games that, your non-starters are supposed to have a chance to get some experience, which you talked about before a couple weeks ago. It's extremely important to have your players who are not your starters get experience. Because somebody could go down instantly, or a helmet could come off, and all of a sudden now this person is thrown into the limelight. So now, hey, we have to play. And so the idea of having these teams, and again, at the expense of kind of the smaller teams, I mean, this is what's going to happen. And so you're always going to see that, but it gives a chance for these better teams to kind of get their non-starters some play.
Yeah, I agree. It challenges you. I think Edwin's right, Lopez, when he said there isn't a big Goliath, even though Alabama had a scare on Saturday, they still pull out of that game. But still, Florida proves that Alabama isn't unbeatable. You could beat them. Exactly. It's all about making plays. Bill, I love this comment here. If you're listening, it's kind of ironic. Algebra has a solve for X, a solve for Y, but this show is about the big Z, the top 16 Z. Big Z for Zorich. I love that, Bill.
The Super 16 poll show. All right. One more I wanted to comment on. Again, they're kind of, and again, I mean, I don't blame Ohio State for doing this, but they know what they're doing in scheduling as well. Their next opponent is going to be Akron. And so again, before going into their season, they have a chance to play some really, really good teams in Oregon, and have a chance to play some warm-up teams. And this is what's going to happen. I mean, Alabama does it. A lot of the big schools do it. A lot of the SEC schools do it. I know Notre Dame has tried to do it a couple times with Navy. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see what happens next week. So our next poll member is going to be number 8.
Number 8, Cincinnati.
Now, this I did have a chance to watch, and I was shocked. I think either right before half or going into the half, they were down 14-0, and I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. So the idea that, and we have talked about this in the past, a couple shows ago, Indiana, they are riding this great wave. I think they got cheated last year. Frankly, they should have been in the Big Ten championship. Phil, I don't know how you feel about that, but the idea of having a team that played by the rules, they won teams, they did what they were supposed to, and Ohio State just came in after playing 6 games, and then all of a sudden they had a chance to kind of take over and go to the Big Ten championship, and then go on and play for the national championship. I don't think that's fair, but I say all that to say that Indiana is on an upswing.
Yeah, I don't remember the story behind it. I vaguely remember.
Yeah.
So catch me up. Because of COVID, I know Justin Fields filed the
what happened? Well, what happened was, to the end of the season, and again, this is kind of controversial.
Yep. In
order to qualify for the Big Ten's rules, they needed to play Michigan. And that was going to be the last game of the year. And then Michigan had a case of COVID. So now they can't play the game. And what their rules said before that said that if you can't play the game, sorry, you're out. Meaning Ohio State only had a chance to play 6 games. And so, and Indiana, I think at the time, played their full schedule at the time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you had a team who had, again, played by the rules, had some great games last year. Indiana had a great season last year. And then all of a sudden, they weren't even rewarded. And so that's kind of the frustrating thing about politics. But again, that's my feeling. Again, and all my friends give me a hard time because I said Ohio State just did not belong in the college football championship. So I say all that to say that I thought Indiana was going to have a chance to come back, take out a number 8th ranked Cincinnati, but that didn't happen. So that's kind of where the reason why they're staying for me and where they're at. One, they're supposed to dominate. And again, I'm going to give credit to Cincinnati not being in a Power 5, but being ranked. And so now, you're in the top 10. You're supposed to be able to beat these teams that
Right.
you've scheduled years before, and it happens to be a Big 10 team. Now, we'll see in a couple of years, they'll be in the Big 12, and we'll see how they fare then. But they're showing the folks in the Big 12 that at least they belong. They can go out and beat Power 5 teams. Now, they have a bye, and then they're going to play Notre Dame. And this is the thing I've been talking about with a couple of my Notre Dame buddies and folks I've been talking to. Before, this was going to be Cincinnati's kind of bowl game, right? Before, this is going to be, Cincinnati's coming to South Bend, and they'll have a chance to be on national television, and this will be great for great exposure for Cincinnati. Now, Notre Dame's dude, oh my God, it's going to be Notre Dame's Super Bowl, right? It's going to be Notre Dame's bowl game, because they're going to have a chance to possibly beat their highest ranked opponent, which needs to happen. But it's going to be interesting because Cincinnati has that bye before going on to play Notre Dame. And as you mentioned before, Wisconsin's going to be playing Notre Dame. So it's going to be interesting, although I'm not looking forward, past Wisconsin.
Right.
But I think it's going to be interesting that they were smart enough to schedule a bye week before they played a really, really, well, at the time, I'm sure they scheduled a really good Notre Dame team. So it's going to be interesting.
It definitely is. Again, you talk about scheduling and college coaches preparing and how they do that, obviously giving them advantages in how they set up the schedule. Again, you don't know. Cincinnati's going to be 8. Notre Dame is number 12 on Chris Zorich's Super 16 poll.
Well, and I do have to give some credit to Jack Swarbrick, who's the athletic director at Notre Dame. When I was working at Notre Dame at the time, I was fortunate enough, he put me on the committee to assist him and a couple other folks to put together future schedules. And it's very complex, extremely, extremely complex, because you have to take in the month of the year. Right. What good team is going to want to come to South Bend in November, right? And then at the end of the day, which I thought was really interesting, we talked about, obviously
did Chris freeze on your side, Lady Bear? Yeah, froze. So he's talking about the reality of scheduling and preparing this through college coaches having to go through the schedule, understand their goal is to get to the national championship, the playoffs. How you set that up is one that is very difficult. Hopefully Chris comes back. If he can hear me, maybe log out, come back in, because he did freeze on his side. I don't know why it transpired there, what transpired there. But this will give us a good time. This Wednesday night, we here at TTNL are going to have the Under Center podcast host, friend of the network, Kenneth Davis, is going to be joining us on Keeping It 100 this week, Wednesday night, 8:30 East. Kenneth Davis will jump on. We'll be talking all things Chicago Bears, Matt Nagy's presser, the back and forth. He want Andy Dalton this, then he sends the PR people out, says something different. Today was just one of those days that you just look at your Chicago Bears and wondering what in the corporate communication world is going on with the Bears, especially after a win. You expect things to be kind of understood and you're excited about it. Today, one of those days. Again, we'll be talking about it with Kenneth Davis from Under Center podcast on the best Bears show on the planet.
32 is the identity of your football team. This has been a mystery for this clown, this shoe salesman, for years.
It's going to keep them honest. You brought in all of this speed and you didn't test it one time. Not one. And
I agree with that one.
That makes what David Montgomery did even more impressive.
Exactly.
Tri-City TTNL, we need people in the stands. Fuck Greg. We need actual people that know what they're talking about and talk about the Bears.
Chicago's trading up. Yes! What? Here it is! Just reported.
6'7", 270-pound man do a little bit of a moonwalk. There you go. Throw something in
Smoke
there.
weed every
What the
day.
fuck's going on? But
A lot of pussycats. A lot of pussycats out there.
Blame it on the bubble wrap. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the starters were unprepared because of lack of contact in the preseason.
Chris is having, I guess his internet just went out, Cherie. I don't know what to do. Do I move on with the show without Chris and reveal his rest of his top? He's stuck there at, I was trying to run there he is. He's coming back. There he is.
Really?
I don't know what happened. You got no internet. I've never seen that.
Come on, man. What the hell's going on here, dude?
Chris sent me a picture. In all honesty, it said you have no internet connection.
It had a dinosaur picture too.
Yeah.
It had like a little.
Did it
little
just go
dinosaur.
out? Do you having weather there? I don't know.
No weather, but I do have to say that our whole complex, their Xfinity, my internet carrier, they're doing like they're dropping lines underground and stuff like that. So everybody's lawn is getting destroyed. So that may do it, but it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It's like no one's out there right now. So I do apologize. I'm not sure.
I was running the promo. This week we have Kenneth Davis coming on Wednesday night to talk Chicago Bears.
There you go.
Dalton, Fields, the whole Matt Nagy presser today. It was so crazy.
I didn't have a chance to see it.
It is like a soap opera. What is going on there? I mean, I'm telling you, he went out. He wouldn't answer. Is Justin Fields? If Andy Dalton's healthy, are you going with him or Justin Fields? And then he goes, well, that's a scheme thing. And he goes, and the reporter goes, well, it's not a scheme. It's a personnel thing. Are you going with, no, it's a scheme. He doubles back. Then he doesn't answer. Then he leaves. And then he sends the PR guy back out to tell them, oh, coach says that if Andy Dalton's healthy, he'll be the starter. I kid you not. I couldn't make this up if I tried.
Well, see, here's the thing, and if this is where I think you and I differ. You want Fields in right now.
Mm-hmm.
I do not. I want him to learn.
Did he freeze again? I think Justin Fields froze your internet. He did not want you saying that.
No, I'm just saying because you can't put, if he's not 100% ready, right? And in other programs, other picks, they might be ready. But you have someone who's proven, then I just feel that you shouldn't send a person out there just to win you a game or two when they're not ready. And I don't necessarily think he's ready.
I would totally agree with you if we had a competent head coach. We don't. And I'm dead serious about this. This guy is all in the whys and asking the questions. And you were right, by the way. Dion Miller was outstanding.
Oh, yeah, she's awesome, man. She's awesome.
Great. Just a ball of energy and knowledge. But the reality is she was right. She's right. I'm right. You're wrong. And this is why. Because Coach Nagy was afraid. He didn't know he was going to get Justin Fields. So they lucked into that, right? You made a promise to Andy. But as a football coach, you have a responsibility to not Andy, but to the 90 guys that are competing to be on the team.
I agree.
So when you then decide we're not going to open this competition, we're going to just go with Andy. You're going to learn that you are just a fragment of Andy Reid. You're going to follow. No, there's millions of ways to do things, and always be about competition and consistency. He's just not. He doesn't have accountability. He doesn't create a competition. Would have given Justin Fields moments and preparation. We've caught him in so many lies that it becomes a trust thing to the fans, and it becomes a football thing to me. I know Andy Dalton's a competent quarterback, but if you had an open competition, that would have propelled learning. It would have propelled understanding. Look no further than John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh understands we're not running my offense. We're running the offense that suits the players. Just like you were talking about with Notre Dame, that's what Nagy has to do. He can't even figure out. He's always talking about the Y's. Well, David Montgomery is the only player on the team that has a Y in his last name. He is also the identity that has a Y in it. There you go. Use 32. Don't take him off the field. There's my little sermon and little mini rant, a Bears rant tonight.
A Bears rant. Oh, wow. I didn't think that was going to happen. Again, after a win, I didn't think that was going to happen, but thank you very much, Phil.
Chris, are you tired of the Bears being a punchline on Saturday Night Live? Or are we going to actually start doing what winning football programs do? Like, I'll tell you this, Chris, last point, and then we'll move on to the poll because your internet seems to have survived.
For now.
Hopefully. But if Kyle Shanahan was here, with the Chicago Bears, he would understand we're going to have a quarterback competition. We're going to draft whatever, and this is what we're going to do. The running game is going to open up the passing game, and I'm going to do what my talent do. I don't put square pegs in round holes. Sure. I don't say, hey, Chris Zorich, you're 6'2" or 6'1", 280. We're going to run you're going to play nose guard, and we're going to run a 50 defense. Chris ain't going to hold up.
Right.
Chris is going to get blown out there with two guards doubling him. And then everyone's going to say, that guy Zorich stinks. He's awful. That's the coach putting Chris in the – this is the same thing with the quarterback position. Let's drop back and let's throw the ball. What did Justin Fields do? He put the game away by scrambling. He did. They came back into the game. He saved the game by that scramble where he's just showing his immense talent. But anyway, I digress here. His amazing internet is back. And we are, Chris, just to remind you, we are at number 7 in your poll.
Well, thank you. But I would like to say, Ralph, wow. I mean, Ralph is harder on Clemson than I am. He doesn't think they belong at 10. Man, what do you think they belong? Man, I only got 6 more spots.
Ralph's got 2 names that both
are fun after Saturday night.
Ralph Barf, aren't those Ralph? Okay.
Love that. All right, so we're on number 7.
Number 7, Texas A&M.
Again, they played New Mexico. They're supposed to beat New Mexico. They beat them 34-0. Again, not really kind of excited about this game, but again, a lot of the non-starters had a chance to get in at the end of the game, which y'all have heard me before. I think is extremely important. You want that game experience. I think a huge test is going to be against Arkansas, which we talked about at 16. So having a chance to kind of see those teams compete now that Texas A&M is into their conference, I think it's going to be great. And so then we'll probably have more to talk about with Texas A&M. But again, they're supposed to beat these teams. That's why they stayed at number 7. So now we are at number 6.
Number 6, Penn State.
Now, I was excited about this game. I had a chance to see all of this game. This was exciting. This was whiteout. You had SEC coming into Big Ten country. I mean, it was crazy. And again, I think we talked about this before in my first show. I hated playing at Penn State because you had to take 2 small planes to get in there. The visitors' locker room was terrible. It was tiny. So all this had a factor. And then I was watching College Game Day on ESPN, and they had a whole special kind of how the White House started. And I thought it was every home game, but it's not. They have to be kind of special games, but I think it was very effective. And you saw several times when Knicks really couldn't hear, or they couldn't hear Knicks on some of the play calling, which is great, obviously. But having a chance to kind of, again, I've never been there, but just seeing it on TV, the whole whiteout thing I thought was amazing. And it actually worked out. Auburn could not come back. I thought it was just a great, exciting game. It was kind of size and a little speed against a lot of speed. And you really had a chance to see who won. So that was a great game. They went up 6 spots for me.
I thought it was the best game of the weekend.
Yes,
it was the most exciting.
Agreed.
I totally agree with you. The thing I love about college football is the bands and the atmosphere, and they really captured it. Did you get to see the comedian Keegan dress up as, Keegan and Kel? You know the guy?
Oh, yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
He dressed up as the coach of Penn State.
I did not see that one.
Oh,
I've seen it before.
Sent it to you.
I've seen it before.
Well, he shows up at their meeting.
Oh, Jesus.
So they switch. So coach is talking to the team, then goes out. Then he comes in, and the whole Penn State team acted just like you, because at first they don't realize it, but then it's like, oh my God. And they all go, and then he starts imitating the coach. And it was just great stuff. I just love college football. I love that you're doing this on the network, the best network, breaking down football here, just adding you to the thing. If you haven't seen that, check it out. Look up Keegan. I think that's his name, the comedian Keegan. He's hilarious, imitating the coach of Penn State.
Kind of what you're talking about, though, it's the excitement. A lot of these kids aren't going pro. I mean,
right.
And you'll have fans, although there are some crazy NFL fans, I mean, you have whole towns who shut down. I mean, look at Alabama. There's nothing else in Alabama except for football, right? So this is what the pageantry is about. This is why I love college football. This is why, if I could, on my bucket list, I'd want to go to every big time stadium, because I just want to experience it and spend a weekend there and go tailgating, hang out. And I know let's
do it next year.
We'll do a remote Super 16.
We'll do a remote Super 16.
And I'm sure we'll probably have better internet then than we would have at my house.
Oh, Ivan and Ron G and Alex Acevedo, they'll make sure we got great internet connection at a local, wherever we are in the tailgate. We're preparing for me to come to Chicago and do a pre-game, post-game show live at Soldier.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That'll be fun. And maybe we get you there. I don't know.
Hey, it depends, man. It depends if I'm not at a wedding. That's what happens. My wife loves me so much. I'm going to these weddings during football season.
I tell people, I go, listen, you do not schedule a wedding during football season. You're off my friends list. If you go
tried,
on my
man.
friend,
I tried.
but then Saturday I could deal with. For me, for you, probably not.
No,
Sunday,
it would
you
be
do
the
it on a
same.
Sunday.
It
I
would
ain't
be the
coming.
same for you. I
Yes,
mean,
exactly.
it would be your Sundays are my Saturdays.
Exactly. And that's
And
why
now
we
that I
work
have
so well together.
now that I have the Super 16 poll show, I'm watching a little bit more football than I anticipated. Like I'm
There you
taking
go.
games now and watching games at like 4 a.m. because freaking the Pac-12 started their game at 9:30 Chicago time. I mean, what time was that game getting over?
Oh my God. I know. I went to sleep thinking of you. I go, I hope he gets a
I'm
poll.
not sure if that sounds good, but okay, thank you very much.
Oh, because
That's
I
okay.
saw
Why
the
didn't you
late
stop
night
that?
game.
Oh, okay, surely. You know what? Well, why don't we just go to number 5 to kind of help fill out?
Number 5, Iowa.
Okay, now I'm excited because these guys jumped 5 to number 5. They were 10 before. Although, again, not a super great opponent. They wound up beating Kent State. But the idea that now Iowa is up there, they played a great Iowa State team, kind of knocked them out of my top 16. And it just kind of goes to show you that really kind of that Big Ten football, is back. But it was an exciting game. Didn't have a chance to see all of it, but really, really am excited that we have a chance of now having an Iowa in the top 5. Okay, now we're going to go to number 4.
Number 4, Oklahoma.
There was a lot of hype around this game, and apparently back in the day, in the 70s, I think it was 79, they had the game of the century, which it was. I mean, there was a lot of hype around it, and they hadn't played Nebraska since Nebraska bounced to the Big Ten. So having a chance to kind of see that rivalry was great. Got a little nervous. Again, thought Oklahoma was just going to roll on them. They didn't, but again, they're playing kind of okay competition. Now, we know that Nebraska lost to an Illinois team who really isn't doing that well. The Illinois team really isn't doing that well. But I think one of the exciting things for Oklahoma, they'll have a chance to kind of really kind of establish how good they are now. Playing their Big 12 schedule, they're going to play a West Virginia team next week who wound up knocking Virginia Tech out of my top 16. They were number 13. So they have some good competition ahead, which they need because they had a chance to kind of put a whole mass of points up against, I think it was Akron. I'm not sure. I think
Western,
Western Carolina.
Western
like
Carolina
63. Yes.
Catamounts.
Yes, exactly.
Catamounts. 76 to nothing.
Well, let you know, it's funny. Going into this, I had a bunch. I was really, really high on Rat. I mean, I think eventually he's going to prove us right. I think he's a good competitor. Again, I just feel sorry for him because they throw this Heisman candidate monkey on your back, and that's really hard. I mean, you got to think about it, man. You're an 18, 19, or 19, 20-year-old kid, and all of a sudden they're talking about the Heisman. And we all know, I think I saw a stat that they said that the person who they talk about was going to win the Heisman in the beginning of the year, sometimes they're not even in New York sitting down in a chair.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a
like
perfect example. I'm sorry?
It's like a curse to the play.
Seriously.
It really does put pressure on them to outperform. Just think about it. Like the pressure to be performing at this level of expectation for an 18, 19-year-old kid.
Come on, man.
Rattler, to me, he is a little too slight for me. He looks he's not matured into his body yet.
That's what people said,
That's what I see as my scouting eyes. I saw him on the QB1. I don't know if you've seen those documentaries, Chris, on Netflix.
No.
They're really good, and they follow these young quarterbacks, 4 or 5 of them in high school, their senior year as they lead up. They've done Fromm, Justin Fields, Rattler, Tate. He ended up going to Ohio State, then he transferred to Miami. I don't even think he is a quarterback anymore. Tate something. But anyway, it's a great series. Rattler was on it. Very arrogant. Very, very cocky, arrogant kid. You could see it right away. So is it, is that being kind of the separator with him and what Lincoln's doing there?
Gotcha.
Tate Martell. Thank you, Caden Whitlow. Tate Martell was Tate Martell had everything.
Really?
Everything. But this kid was what Rattler was. So arrogant, so conceited, making his mom buy him like a new Porsche or whatever. Like,
oh my God.
I'm telling you, I couldn't believe it. But you really get that side of a kid to see where they are. So, Spencer, the story is still there. He's got all the traits. Does he have it here? That's what I want to see. Oklahoma versus Nebraska. That was a more competitive game than I thought. I thought Oklahoma was going to go in there and rattle them. No pun intended.
Again, and here's the thing. I mean, for fans, for us, I mean, these are great games, right? I mean, there's at least a couple really good games per week, which wasn't necessarily the case last week. I mean, obviously at COVID, but I mean, I remember some weeks going like, man, I'm really, really trying to find some good competition. But
you meant last year.
Really good games.
Yeah, last year. This year has been.
Yeah.
Penn State.
Penn State. That was great.
Florida, Alabama was great.
Yes.
So to top that, to go down to a 2-point conversion against the evil empire, as I call them.
Well, we'll have a chance to get to the evil empire. We got a couple more. So let's kind of be dramatic and let's see where people are gonna where Alabama's gonna fall. So now we're at number 3.
Number 3, Oregon.
Now they go up one spot because they beat, and Phil talked about this last week. He had no idea who the Stony Brook Sycamores, who is the Stony Brooks? Catamount? No, that was Western Carolina. But here's the thing. Okay, Oregon destroyed them. Obviously, they're supposed to, right? Now they wound up going up.
The Sea Wolves. Stony Brook Sea.
Thank you. And again, thank you very much, Phil. These are one of the games that are scheduled because they're going to go into their season, and you want, again, don't want to sound like a broken record, you want to get your players that experience. And this is it. And this is what happens in the beginning of the year. We're going to have these lopsided scores, but we have to have those, right? Because you want to see good competition throughout the year. So it was a good Oregon team. They only go up 1, but now their next opponent is going to be Arizona, and they haven't won a game yet. So again, these are games that we expect. Oregon, we expect good teams to win. Now, we just don't want anybody to get hurt. I mean, that's really the thing. So let's go ahead and play as many people as you can, but let's just not get folks hurt. So we're going to go to number 2.
Number 2, Georgia.
All right, now this is exciting. They actually played a comparable SEC team. Well, when I say comparable, maybe not ranked comparable, but it was a good SEC team, and they beat them decisively. So this is what they're supposed to do. Obviously couldn't go up 1. I didn't want to drop them down, obviously, but I think, this is Georgia does not have, they're not going to play any more ranked teams. And we actually talked about this. This side of the SEC
think we lost Chris again here with his internet. Might be the company out there affecting Chris's internet. Listen, I can't control the internet. Chris, if you can hear me, do the same thing, boot out and boot back in. But he's just talking about the SEC and what it is that they're going to have to do as they go forward. And listen, the SEC has a brand of football that clearly has an advantage when you have the likes of Georgia and Alabama, LSU, Auburn. You get all those SEC teams flowing in there, and you are able to get, a level of football where the Ole Misses, Vandies might miss, no pun intended. You get these big time programs that are recruiting. So go ahead, Chris, with where you were here with Georgia.
First of all, I do want to apologize again. When we do the remote thing, we're probably going to have better internet service.
We're going to fix Xfinity. Ron G's already texted me from Vegas. He's like,
he's dying.
I'll be there.
Let me come, please. Absolutely, Ron G. We definitely will need your help here. Again, talking about Georgia, these are teams they have to beat. Good competition. Now, they're next. I heard Phil talk about Vanderbilt. Yes, that's their next competition, but this is their conference, and they're not going to play another ranked team until the SEC championship. Which again, give them that experience. They will not go down in the polls, obviously. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how this kind of all shakes out. So we're going to go to our surprise.
The best player I've seen on defense this college football season. That defensive tackle from Georgia. Oh my God. Number 99.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I forget his name. If someone in the chat, I should have his name. I had his name written down, but I didn't bring that notepad with me. I left it at my job, to be transparent. But this kid, Chris, you talk about a dominant force. I mean, when you talk about a beast, I haven't seen 6'6", 340 pounds move like that. I don't know when. I have never seen. I mean, that is an athlete at that size and speed. I mean, we've seen Albert Hainsworth and some of these bigger guys that were strong at the point of attack and very athletic. Calais Campbell was very athletic. And this kid is an even more twitchy athlete than Campbell was. And Campbell's a big dude. I think he's 6'7", Campbell. But this kid's 6'6", 340. You have that kind of interior defensive lineman, you just destroy. Jordan Davis. Thank you, Tony.
There you go.
And Edwin, you both get credit. Jordan Davis. Remember that name. I'll tell you right now. If I was drafting, he dominates inside. You talk about Aaron Donald-esque. This guy's 5-6 inches taller than him.
Yep, exactly.
He's a beast.
Exactly.
But anyway, I just wanted to add to the show.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. And more importantly, I'm going to give him a bunch of defensive tackle love because I do love our defensive players. But we're now, and it's going to be no surprise, unfortunately, but we have number one.
Number 1, Alabama.
Man, you want to talk about a great game. Phil, you got to come in for this. This was, I mean, I'm sitting here kind of cheering during a wedding and kind of like freaking out.
Right.
And kind of like, oh, no. And I mean, this was in Florida. I mean, the fact that they were able to compete really kind of got me excited in one hand, but also realized, you know what? You know, maybe Alabama's reign is not that not going to last that long. So I got excited. And what I think is great is that you have two great teams have a chance to compete against each other but more importantly, kind of that level of competition, which is going to show you a great game, right? Even when Alabama beat Miami, this was not even comparable.
Yeah, you felt like a fight. Remember Mike Tyson? And I love Mike Tyson. But you knew, like, in 35 seconds, he's knocking somebody out. Right? So the anticipation was almost better than the fight.
Sure.
And for that one moment where it was just like explosive power. That being said, that's what Alabama does to you, the fan. You, the fan of Alabama, you love it. They're dominant. You're roll tide. Shane, roll tide, jumping on that bandwagon, probably. I'm just kidding. He's always been an Alabama. But the reality is, I root for the underdog too. And I think everybody with a vested interest from Notre Dame or Stanford, Michigan State, whoever you root for, you're cheering for Florida to knock out the evil empire because they've been so dominant.
Right.
Now, to Bullet's point, to your point, I saw some other people, they're beatable. That's what that says.
They're human.
In that game. They're human. Exactly. If the kicker doesn't miss that extra point, listen, it's unbelievable. What a game. Again, the atmosphere.
Again, this is right, exactly. I mean, this
Florida
is the
fans,
college football. Right.
They believed in their team, and the players rose to the level of competition that you hope. And that was just, I didn't think that, I thought that was going to be the game of the, that me and you were talking about. That was the game. Penn State, to me, that was
amazing.
It was delicious. That's how I would say. It was like, I just love college football so much. And to your credit, I get to watch more football. My wife,
awesome.
I got homework.
I got homework, right? She's like, bullshit. Get out. Go mow the lawn. I don't care about your homework. Go mow the lawn.
I was mowing the lawn, listening to USC on my headset, mowed the lawn at night, and during the day I was watching the game. I got to shout out ESPN, the app, so I can stream these games.
There you go.
Watch it. I really do. That's important. Anyway.
Well,
amazing game.
That's what gets me excited because, we're still able to kind of root and be excited for these teams that may have this great run, but there are a few that have a chance to go out there and really kind of show them what they can do as well. And again, conference games, great competition, but more importantly, great exciting games that aren't. Well, there was such a different situation from last year. I mean, there were some games not like this. I mean, now we're seeing really exciting games kind of week in and week out. So I'm very, very excited about that. And that's why Alabama was number one. And again, great competition. This is going to help Alabama when they get down, maybe in the SEC championship, play more tougher opponents. It's also going to help Florida now. They know they can hang with Alabama now. So that's going to give them confidence to finish out their year. So, it'll be interesting to kind of see how this is going to play out with the college football playoff system that we have now. But to kind of go off a little bit, let's have a couple minute discussion about kind of what you think about the possibility of them going to, was it 12 teams or 16 teams for the college football playoff? So I think that's going to be exciting because if you think about it now, you're going to, and this is what people were saying, the reason why you had 4 teams, people aren't going to like what they're going to see with more teams. Because, and this is it, this is this SEC bias that we all hate. I mean, you're going to have, and I think I was talking to one of my boys, if you do 12, 6 of your teams are going to be from the SEC. And before, you're only going to have a chance to get one, which is that SEC champion. But now, if you opened it up, you're going to get 6. So we aren't going to see the Cincinnatis. We aren't going to see the Coastal Carolinas think, if you open it more, you have a chance for other teams to get in. And this is, again, this is me being honest. This is me truly being transparent. You're going to see a bunch of SEC teams in there, and folks aren't going to like it.
Listen, I've always, since I was a little kid, I felt like there was an unfair bias. It used to just end back in those days without a championship. It was just named, these are the champions.
Right.
And it would go down. They're the number one team. It would go by the bowl that they were in. If you remember, this bowl is going to host the championship. I hated that. Then they finally went to the playoffs and it went to 4. It's like the Chicago Bears. They just can't, the NCAA just can't get it right. Just okay, you want to do it? Let's do 8. Let's do 8. I'm fine with 8. Just look at it fairly. Come up with an understanding of who is truly unbiased to truly rank these teams, like Chris is doing tonight. Like, legitimately, I know in your heart you pull for Notre Dame. I think everybody would understand that, but I truly could tell that you rank these teams fairly. I know everybody's wondering, where's Michigan? Where's Jim Harbaugh, your former teammates team, on your top 60 polls?
And I knew I was going to get
that.
But
one of them. She's fired up with you.
Look at who Michigan played. Okay. They played a Washington team who lost to, what was it, like a division, just made it a Division II school or something. I know it's not Division II school, but it was, who was it? Was it
oh my God, I said it last week. Where's Bullets? Cherie might know and remember.
But so they beat a team like that. I can't
remember who watched it. They beat Western Michigan 47-14.
Okay.
Then they played Washington, beat them 31-10.
Right.
Where Notre Dame only beat Toledo by a certain point.
Right.
And
everybody was so
Northern
excited.
Illinois 63-0.
Right. So everybody's so excited.
Yeah.
Hey, Michigan's 3-0, and that's fine.
Yes.
But let's look at the competition. So if Western Michigan, okay, so we're gonna talk about the MAC schools, right?
Right.
So it's a MAC school again. Love the MAC. Love some of the coaches there. The athletic directors, they're great people. But are they supposed to compete against Michigan? No. Okay, so that's a supposed to win game. Then you look at Washington, and Washington, okay, we're supposed to give them some competition, but it's the same thing like Notre Dame and Florida State, right? Notre Dame wins. They barely beat Florida State, but then Florida State turns around and loses to who they lose to. They like South Sycamore State or something like that, or
they got beat.
Right. So and this so that's kind of my philosophy. So and believe me, I have my best friend Rick DeLeon loves a Michigan.
They got beat by JSU. Jacksonville State Gamecocks.
Okay.
That was Florida State losing that game.
My boy is on me for Michigan not being in the top 16. Got to be honest, though, man. I got to, keep it 100 and let folks know why. So
I like you. I'm just speaking for those people that I know are hating on Chris, like Cherie shaking her head, wanting her Michigan. But to Chris's point, let me just give you Michigan fans a little props to Chris. Their next game is Saturday versus Rutgers, who's unranked. Then they play Wisconsin, then Nebraska, then Northwestern, then finally they face off Interstate, Michigan State, Indiana, Penn State on November 13th, Maryland the 20th, and Ohio State on the 27th, that Thanksgiving weekend. So to Chris's point, Wisconsin's ranked number 18 right now. They're not in Chris's poll. What other game ranked? It's all the way to October 30th, Halloween weekend. So Halloween's on a Monday, Chris. We'll be doing it live here. There you go.
As kids are coming to the door, right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So there you go. Michigan, Chris, I got to give you the win here. I think you have a legit argument here. And I pull for Jim Harbaugh because I really wanted him
I was
to
his
be the
teammate.
Bears
I'm a
coach.
huge fan. I love Michigan. I love the athletic director there, Ward Manuel, played at Michigan.
Best fight song?
There you go.
Or no?
I
Are you
like,
Notre Dame?
I obviously like Notre Dame. Well, no. I like the other version, the one that's the upbeat version by John Scully and his daughter, I believe. And John actually played football at Notre Dame.
I got to check it out.
It's the one where, and I have it on my playlist. I forgot the exact. I think it's "Here Come the Irish."
Can you
And
send that
it is,
to me?
it got the drums. I mean, it's awesome. I'll send it to you. But here's the thing. So, huge Michigan fan. All respect in the world for Michigan fan. But listen, BYU just made it in this week.
Yes.
By beating two. Now they who they just play?
I'll give you their record.
Right. So they just played Arizona State, but they, like I said before, they beat a ranked Utah top 25. They beat a
26. They beat Arizona to open up.
Right.
Then they beat Utah 26-17.
And
then
beat
Arizona State
which was
27-17.
Right. Okay. So then that absolutely. So again, that's my reasoning for not getting Michigan in there. So, but we saw Michigan State. They beat a good top 25 Miami team, so that's why they got it. So
that's
like my rationale.
I say I got to challenge my guy. I got to challenge that people want to know. There's the list right here.
All right, let's go through it. So we got Arkansas at 16, 15. We're just talking about Michigan State. 14, Stanford, BYU. 13, Notre Dame. Number 12, 11, Florida. 10, Clemson. 9, Ohio State. Cincinnati at 8, 7, Texas A&M. Penn State 6, Iowa 5, Oklahoma 4, Oregon 3, Georgia, and then Alabama number 1. And I think these are going to be as exciting as they were last week. So the first one is going to be, of course, Notre Dame and Wisconsin at Soldier Field. Huge top 5 matchup. I'm excited about that game. I'll be there. Hopefully I have a chance to talk about a great victory. Then we're going to have Texas A&M and Arkansas. We mentioned that before during the top 16 picks. That's going to be a good game. Yes. 2 ranked SEC teams. I'm excited about that. Now, here's one that's going to be a little tricky. Yes, sir, Phil.
Great game, great matchup there.
Yes.
That game is something. Arkansas has shown me a lot of pride and toughness. Just watching them, they really. So I want to see how they fare in this big matchup. That's really going to be exciting to see where they line up. They're in your top, they make their debut here at 16. Yep. So how do they play? I'm excited about that game is all I really wanted to add to that.
Yes. And I think, and I'm going to say, watch out. Arkansas has been putting up a lot of points, and we saw Texas A&M just beat Colorado. So, who knows? I think that may be one of those kind of interesting picks we'll have a chance to see. Now, another one, we got West Virginia, Oklahoma. Again, Oklahoma should blow the pants off of West Virginia, but West Virginia beat a ranked Virginia Tech team. So that's one that I think everyone
also knocked them out of your poll.
Yes, they did. So we should have some poll knocker-outers as well. Now, and again, this was kind of a hard one to kind of look at. We have Florida against a okay Tennessee team. I don't think there's going to be an upset here. I'm just excited to see how Florida bounces back from such an emotional loss against Alabama. Yes. And my last one is going to be LSU, Mississippi State. These are 2 unranked teams, but I think LSU needs this victory because it's been kind of a really frustrating year for LSU. A lot of folks, even myself included, had them ranked really, really high, and they've not done very well. So I think this game is going to be a great game for them to hopefully kind of get back on track. Again, conference play, hopefully they have a chance to do well against Mississippi State. So those are my exciting Big Five matchups.
I love your Big Five matchups. College football is back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Super 16 poll show. Every Monday night, Chris Zorich comes on here, reveals his Super 16 teams in all of college football, breaking it down from the All-American, 3-time All-American's point of view, former Notre Damer, as you all know, and former Chicago Bear. Right here.
By that time, I will have better internet because of Ron G.
Ron G will be coming out there to fix the internet issues. We apologize for those tonight, but
yes, we do.
It is a live show, and we do everything live. There's no script.
No script. It's on a script.
There's no script.
Finally got it in there. I love it. Finally got it in there. Finally got it in there.
And listen, we roll with the punches here. I really enjoy this show because, you know, everything we do on the network is always draft, free agency, Chicago Bears focus. So for you as a former Bear to focus this football outward and bring every fan from every part of America or the world that roots for these college teams and really breaking it down, it gives everybody here at our network a leg up as the Bears always go into the draft. So you'll be very more educated watching these games every Sunday. Like we got Gustavo, he's all the way in Brazil and he watches the Bears every week. Now he's learning about the college football side of things, how teams are built, and who better to learn it from than Chris Zorich. I hope you guys love this show. But before we end, we always end on Zorich's final thoughts.
Thank you, sir. So the final thoughts for this week, and this is kind of a holdover from a couple weeks ago. There's a gentleman by the name of Dylan Gibbons, who was an offensive lineman for the University of Notre Dame, graduated, and went to Florida State. And there was a kind of a big write-up about him, about what he decided to do with his opportunity through the NIL legislation. And for those of you folks who might not know what the NIL stands for, it's name, image, and likeness. A lot of folks have kind of created some great opportunities for themselves, sponsorships, appearances, make a ton of money. What Dylan decided to do, there's a young man that he befriended over the years when he was at Notre Dame, Timothy Donovan. And I forgot exactly what disease he has, but he's been in a wheelchair since he was a little kid. And him and Dylan became friends. And amazing story. So as soon as, I think it was in June of this year, as soon as the NLI took effect, he actually put up a GoFundMe page and kind of used his name, image, and likeness to promote this. And he wanted to get Timothy from the South Bend area to see him play against Notre Dame. So they had a chance to get into Florida State. So they raised somewhere around about $30,000 or $40,000 to assist them to do that. They did. It was great. The young man had a great weekend. So did his family. And it was really kind of touch and go for a while there because he had some complications maybe a week before the game, and they weren't sure if he was going to be able to make it. He wound up making it. And it was just a great story, but it just talks about kind of the courage and the maturity of Dylan. I mean, this is a kid who is still in college. I call him a kid. I think he's 21, 22 years old, but he's an incredible young man. Not sure what I was doing. Not sure if I was thinking like this. Phil, I don't know what you were doing when you were 20, 21, But here's a young man who took on the responsibility of kind of using his name, image, and likeness to benefit someone else. And it was great because some sponsors saw what he was doing, and they wound up donating a bunch of money to the GoFundMe. And the money that was left over now is assisting the family in having their home adapted to the wheelchair that Timothy needs. Awesome. So it's a great story, and that's what I think is kind of special about kind of this whole college environment. Although you hear great stories about folks doing amazing things in everyday life, here you have a young man who could have been out getting endorsements, making a bunch of money for himself or his boys, and he decides to use that type of opportunity to help this young man. And then he wound up starting a foundation that's called Big Man Big Heart. You can check it out at bigmanbigheart.com, where he's still taking funds, and he has a podcast. This is Dylan Gibbons, great young man. I've listened to it. Eventually, I'm going to have him on my podcast,
awesome.
on the Chris Zorich podcast. But what I think is great is that here's a young man. I mean, I'm 52. I got a podcast. This guy's 22. So this guy's like doing this, has the maturity level of really kind of taking advantage of these opportunities that he's given to really help other people. I think that's so special. And I know we talked about the young man, McKenzie, because that was a great story. Florida State quarterback. Right. Great story about kind of overcoming that adversity. But I didn't want this to go unnoticed, because I think when we talk about young people these days, sometimes we kind of get overshadowed about all the glitz and glamour, especially in athletics. These NILs, folks are making tons and tons of money for themselves. But here you have a young man who's deciding that he wants to help other people in that fashion. And he talked about, so I encourage folks to go listen to his podcast again, or excuse me, go to his website. They have a chance to listen to the podcast there. But what he'd like to do is have a big man, big heart representative kind of on each college campus, which I think is great. And this is a young man, 21, 22 years old, thinking about this. So those are my final thoughts. And I love being able to kind of share kind of these underdog or these kind of stories that really make you think and understand that there are people behind these helmets and shoulder pads.
I love it. I heard it, and it's a heart warmer, and it's about football. Football is so instrumental in my life, and I'm raising my sons in the same vein that my father raised me. They're playing flag, and I'm coaching them now, and I just see how it reaches young people. And when you have a disability and you're unable to play, to be able to cross that line and understand the bridge that you can build by just going out of your way to reach out to someone is a mature showcase of a young man, but also it takes a lot of empathy and compassion. And we need more of that in this world. There's no doubt about it. So I love the fact that every show, Chris talks about something near and dear to his heart that involves college football. This story not being short of that. That said, make sure that you go follow Chris Zorich on his YouTube channel and check out his podcast. He's always having some amazing guests, former Notre Dame players, business people, graduates from the school, talking about football, politics, and everything else that Chris talks about on his podcast. As a TTNL head, Chris is part of the family. Truly believe that. Best network. Chris is my favorite Irish, and he was a Bear. DDP is family and has my loyalty. This show was awesome. I love you guys.
Thank you, Edwin. I appreciate that. Thank you. And again, I want to apologize to you in particular. Yeah, you had some great comments, but again, I apologize about my internet.
Hey, did you ever play at West Point real quick before we close out the show?
I think the games that we played, I think may have been
always at your place. Always at your place.
There were a couple times.
The Meadowlands or Philly, right?
Yep. Yep.
I really want, when you come out here, I want to
Mhm.
bring you to West Point so you and I can watch a game together.
That'd be cool.
It is the most amazing
That would
experience
be cool.
I've ever had. And I'm going to bring my sons there. My cousin, Kevin, he was the one who initiated. He's like, you got to come. And my father had been there in the 80s.
Okay.
Me and my wife, she was pregnant with the twins at the time. It was a trooper.
Oh my
It was
God.
just gorgeous, though. Beautiful fall day. You're in this valley with a river, and you're overlooking it. It's like a cliff. It's like in the mountains, and there's just a vibe there. And let me just tell you, you got to experience that one time in your life. If you ever get out here, those of you listening, if you ever do get out on the East Coast, that Army game, Army football is truly amazing stuff to witness. That being said, I love Chris Zorich. Subscribe to the channel. You can see him here on the Tape Never Lies Network, as well as his YouTube channel. If you're a fan of us, please give Chris a like and a subscribe. Smash the like button. Chris, we're going to make sure that next week's show, we go on here early and make sure we broadcast it from your Twitter page as well.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Yeah, we haven't done that.
All
so
right.
I want to make sure we do that. Obviously, this is week 3. We're going to clean up the internet stuff with Chris. I promise you.
I promise.
We're going to get after it just like the Bears got after the Bengals. The Chicago Bears play the Cleveland Browns this Sunday. We will be live on Bears Hour Live right after on TTNL. We've already got almost 10,000 views on Bears Hour Live.
Nice.
Yesterday's show. So that's where this network is going. I hope you TTNL heads continue. I know you love the Bears, but you got to tune in every Monday night, 8:30 East, to the Super 16 poll show with Chris Zorich. Chris, great job tonight. Guys, we'll be back Wednesday night on Keeping It 100 with Kenneth Davis from the NBC Sports Under Center podcast. He'll be coming on talking all things Bears. Final thought here. Chris Zorich keeps it real. He really does. He keeps it 100. Even in a wedding, he's watching football. That's my kind of guy. I did the same thing.
Yeah, but I got the back of my head is sore from my wife hitting me in the back of her head while I was watching the game. So.
But he had to get his poll in. He got it done. Shout out to Ron G and Caden Whitlow, Cherie, our lovely producer, holding down the chat room. And we'll see you back here on the Super 16 poll show with Christopher Zorich here on the Tape Never Lies next week. Thanks for watching the Super 16 poll show with Chris Zorich. Like, subscribe, and comment. This has been a special presentation of the Tape Never Lies Network. Performance over politics.